these modules. So we'll start. In this, we'll go through pre-award. Domain A, it have developed solicitation. Solicitation, it will come under everything which will be considered to develop one quotation or to ask one quotation, like RFQs, like RFPs, and many other things which will be concerning RFQs, RFPs, tendering, all of these things. Then 2.1, plan solicitation. 2.2, requesting offers. Domain B is develop offer. Then 2.3 is plan sales, and 2.4 is develop offer. We'll go through this slide. Pre-award. As from its name, it is really self-explanatory that all the activities which we have to make it to understand the pre-award, all will be covered under this. There will be two domains mainly, which will be one develop solicitation and another will be develop offer. So solicitation is the one when we are requesting someone to give us some offer. We are developing some scope of work, we are developing some specification which we already have, and some understanding we are developing technically, but we required to meet that scope of work. We are sharing that with contractor, with vendor, and we are allowing them to have a look and to check that technically and to develop their commercial offer, and we are going to receive that offer. So all of these things will be covered under the pre-award. We'll go through this slide. Pre-award is the first phase of the contract lifecycle. The pre-award process involves the contract management functions of contract planning, includes the processes for buyer to produce solicitation and sellers to prepare offers. There are two domains within the pre-award lifecycle phase. Develop solicitation is the one, then develop offer is the one. The buyer competencies for this domain are plan, solicitation, and request offers. So as per buyer perspective, there is plan solicitation and there is request offer, which is the domain of develop solicitation. So if you are looking into the seller, if you are working as a seller, as per seller competency which you have to gain, that will be coming next. Develop offer. The seller competencies for this domain are plan sales and prepare offers. So in both perspective, if you are working as a seller, if you are working as a buyer, these four competencies and sub competencies will be sufficient enough for us to understand the contract management life cycle from our point of view. The processes in pre-award lifecycle phase interact with each other, continuously integrate with the guideline principles. So each of us, we are working in a company and one company is doing a business. That company will be as a buyer also, as a seller also. With some companies, they are doing business as a buyer. With some companies, they are doing business as a seller. So in both point of view, we have to understand these complete skills. In addition, the pre-award processes have a direct impact on the performance and results of award and post-award life cycle. 6.1 figure illustrated. SIMBOK competency system. 6.2 illustrate overview of pre-award competencies. Okay, as this figure you are very much familiar. In our all earlier modules, we have gone through this figure. Before that, we have gone through this leadership skill, leadership competency. Afterwards, we have gone through the B, management competency, and then guiding principles we have gone through. And today our session will be concluded on pre-award phase of the contract. Guiding principle, as you can see, this is the pre-award phase. From guiding principle, all three are taking resources and inputs, and from 2.0 there are two domains, which is one as a buyer and one domain as a seller. So domain A is working as a buyer and domain B is working as a seller. In both perspective, these skills we have to gain it, because in one company, once we will achieve one post, we must have to understand the requirement of that post, and buyer and seller perspective, as business is really important nowadays. From both perspective we have to understand and maintain the skill set and required competencies. Develop solicitation. Solicitation, it's a package, the requirement what we will ask someone to submit to us in form of RFQ. Now, to submit RFQ, they required some clear scope of work. In that scope of work, we will mention our clear requirements of deliverables, our exact requirements of milestone, and we will ask them that what technical proposals they can share with us, including the commercial details, all of this. Now, developing solicitation will be covering all of that, and it will be part of that. And afterwards, we will request offer from our vendor. The develop solicitation is primarily the domain of the buyer. It contains the processes of describing all elements of the customer's requirements, technical, business, regulatory, to the seller. The value added by this domain is the accurate presentation of the customer's requirements through a solicitation, leading to responsive offers and resulting in successful contract performance. Develop solicitation is comprised of two competencies: plan solicitation and request offers. So plan solicitation is the process by which efforts of all personnel responsible of acquiring goods or services are coordinated, integrated through comprehensive plan for fulfilling the customer's need in a timely manner at a reasonable price. It includes developing all strategy for managing the acquisition. The plan solicitation competency begins initial stage of requirement develop and ends within the plan solicitation plan, within a solicitation plan. So outcome of this 2.1 competency will be the solicitation plan. Now solicitation plan will include everything what you need to ask for RFQ, to ask for a tender, to ask for a quotation. All of these technical requirements will be covering under this solicitation plan. Solicitation planning reviews the important consideration decisions necessary to form a successful contract. Contract managers needs to understand the importance of these decisions and their impacts on the resulting contract. Many problems of contract performance and administration can be avoided with comprehensive actionable solicitation plan. Solicitation plan will be outcome of this. The solicitation plan should reflect a collaborative effort involving significant stakeholders. All the level of details provided in solicitation plan will vary depending and anticipating dollar value, level of complexity, degree of significance, and other appropriate factors such as level and extent of risk. A written plan may not be necessary for simple, straightforward, low dollar value purchases. In the absence of the written plan, contract manager should ensure the stakeholders share a common understanding and consensus regarding the solicitation methodology. So solicitation plan will have the clear understanding what are the scope of works we as a buyer required, what are the scope of works, what are the stakeholders involvement. Maybe one project, one scope of work, or one commercial contract will have involvement of multiple stakeholders. We might building one factory, we might going to make one project which will have a different end user, which will have a different client. So we must assure that our solicitation plan, our solicitation package have complete end user inputs and the requirements what they want us to build. So all stakeholder involvements are really necessary in plan solicitation. So we must take our all necessary inputs from stakeholders which are involved and who will be the end user in the plan solicitation. Or everyone should be involved. So the clear technical inputs will be provided before taking the commercial proposal from the different sellers, from contractors, from vendors, like that. We'll go through this slide, explain all pertinent issues related to solicitation as illustrated 6.3. The content of solicitation plan are described as follows. The description of the need to be satisfied. The description should be concise yet complete enough to explain what the need is, how it came to be needed at the current time, any pertinent history of related prior acquisitions, and how they were acquired. We clearly have to mention if this project, if this work, if this factory, if it is going to rebuild, if someone earlier have worked on this, all the details for tenderer or for offeree, someone who is going to offer you a commercial and technical proposal, he must understand the clear requirement. And if there is rework job, someone have worked on that already and some work have to be rectified, all of these details have to be included in solicitation plan also. And that solicitation plan will be input to request offer next competency, and then it will be shared to vendor or to seller to submit technical and commercial proposal for this, for your work. All of these will be part of the pre-award phase and it will be pre-award job. Solicitation plan contents are the following: description of need, conditions or constraints, cost targets. You will set your some budgets and all of these you will include. This data you can share with planner, with seller, with vendor, or you might not share with them. Required capabilities, delivery or performance requirements, then cost technical schedule trade-off, cost technical schedule risks, plan of actions. So these are the content of solicitation plans. In this, there are contract types. You might mention the contract type clearly in your solicitation plan while you are developing a solicitation. What kind of contract you are going to give to your vendor? Is it a cost incentive? Is it a lump sum fixed cost? Is it a time and material? All of these details and terms and condition you must clarify in developed solicitation. So the seller, the vendor, the person, the company who are going to give you offer, who are going to give you commercial proposal, they will have the clear understanding which kind of contract they are going to quote. Either it is in their favor, they are willing to get this contract or not. We'll go through this slide. Contract type also demanding on their application called pricing arrangement or delivery arrangement refer to specific business arrangements used to structure the contract. There are specific business arrangements that govern the buyer and seller relationship. These business arrangements deal specifically with the basis on which the seller receives considerations. Contract types are also determined how cost or performance risk is allocated between parties. A variety of contract types are used in both commercial and government contract management. This section describes the following contract types: fixed price contract, cost reimbursement contract, incentive contracts, other type of contracts. Fundamentally, the selection of the contract type is based on the risk to both buyers and sellers. The more risk the seller has, such as untried technology, vague specifications, the less likely the seller will be to accept a fixed price contract. So we have to understand while developing a solicitation package, a solicitation plan, that we as a buyer, we are exposing to a certain risks. which kind of risks we are exposing ourselves. If you are in seller position, if you are responding to some solicitation package, then in that case also you must have to understand that you are exposing to which kind of risk. If there is some unclear specification which is provided to you, you must respond to RFQ, you must respond to RFP, that you have some queries, tender queries, or RFIs, some request for information, something like that to your client. So all information must be obtained before giving a commercial technical proposal. In both manner, if you are in seller or if you are a buyer, the specs and scope of work have to be clear, and if it is not clear, there would be a scope creep, there could be a scope gap, which will lead a later on a dispute, a minor dispute or a major dispute, and that disputes will lead to a major commercial conflict and a damage of relation between the companies, between the both parties. So we must have to avoid it on the solicitation stage. As much as scope of work, technical requirement and deliverable requirement and time requirement, budget requirements, we will be clear in that from the beginning. It will be better for all involved parties. 6.4 illustrate the risk relationship of the various contract types for both the buyer and the seller. It is interesting to note that the contract type with the most risk for one party is the contract type that has the least risk for other party. So whenever there is one contract type which is risky, maybe it is time and material contract for one instance for the buyer, because it will have unlimited time and material cost. Whatever seller will claim, buyer have to pay. So one contract type which is risky for one party, that is risky for the buyer, then it is least risky for the seller. Then in another hand, the fixed price contract, it is little higher risky for the seller, because everything will be fixed in that from the beginning of the contract. There will be no variation or uh, uh, no additions will be entertained into that, as far it is not a real variation which will be extended as per the terms and condition of the contract. In that manner, that lump sum contract, fixed price contract is less risky for the seller, but it is more risky for the buyer. Something maybe it will be missed out and it will not be covered in that scope of work. So that is the thing we have to consider it in selecting the contract type in the beginning of the develop solicitation stage. As you can see in your screen, the range of the contract type and the risk which is exposed. You can see all contract types are mentioned into this. This is fixed price range. In fixed price, there are fixed price from fixed price contract, then fixed price, there is incentive percentage, and then there is fixed price incentive contract. Then in center you can see this is time and material contract. In this, both buyer and seller, they will have risk. They don't know what time and material they are going to consume for this. Then there are cost reimbursement contract. These are the cost reimbursement, all type of the contracts. In this, as you can see, buyer have high risk towards these contract. Buyer have low risk towards these fixed price contract. So seller here, there is high risk for the seller involvement. If you are seller, you must avoid these kind of contracts, but somehow as per market norms, we have to engage ourselves in the contract types which is client preferring. So if you are seller, you have low risk in these kind of contracts. So there might be some questions within the exam. We must have to understand this chart, and if possible, you can draw each and every type of the contract and just to have a clear understanding, what are the contracts which is considering as a high risk contract for the seller, what are the contract types which is considering low risk contracts for the seller, what are the contracts which is high risk for buyer, what are the contracts which is low risk for the buyer. So all advantages, disadvantages, it's briefed in that. The next is figure 6.5. In this, you can see the attributes, suitability, essential elements, and disadvantages, essential elements and advantages. These are for firm fixed price FFP contracts. You can go through on your screen. We'll go into next slide. So these are suitability and adjustment and advantages detailed for fixed price with economic price adjustment. If there are certain conditions according to market, you as a seller, you are still engaging yourself in firm fixed price contract. You might add some economic percentage, economic price adjustment into your contract, which will lead to avoid some potential risks in future to your company, to your organization. It is completely depending on the duration of the contract also. If we have lengthy duration of the contract, we must have to understand the price escalations and inflation, which will cause the price adjustment within the long period of time. So within the long period of time, check there. All right. So I'll go into next slide. Fixed price incentive. So these are the types of the contracts. As you can see in your screen, fixed price incentive contract, when it will suit as a buyer to award this kind of contract, and when as a seller you will going to choose this kind of contract. All of details we have to understand. Fixed price incentive contract will have some kind of incentive fee which buyer will pay to the seller, and it can link to a certain deliverable, it can link to a certain understanding. Once that will be achieved from seller side, that target will be achieved from seller side, buyer will be liable to pay that incentive along with fixed price. Fixed price will be there for all the contracts, and once there will be certain target which will be fixed and which will be determined along with the awarding contract from the buyer side to the seller, and seller will achieve that target, that incentive fee have to be paid from buyer to seller. Time and material. As all of us we know that time and material contract will have some unit rates for both parties, and that unit rates will be followed overall the life cycle of the contract. Whenever there will be material will used, seller will calculate his material installed, his material delivered, and time what he have consumed to deliver that deliverable, and that going to be charged to buyer. Buyer will have the high risk in this time, and this seller, he might add something additional. So buyer must have to verify the all progress invoices, all details which is provided by seller. So all of these details have to be verified before paying to seller. And for this, there could be additional manpower, additional resources, additional quantity surveyors, additional contract administrators requirements from the buyer side, and more resources will be utilized in this. Then there is cost sharing contract. These are the types of reimbursement contracts. All of these details are extracted from SIM book itself. Any of you have started reading and studying the SIM book? Which chapter you are studying? Can anyone confirm? All right, so this is the cost sharing. Then cost plus incentive fee. Cost plus incentive fee will have different understanding, and it will be a variable contract also. The price for this will not be fixed from the beginning of the project. There will be a formula which will be agreed between the buyer and seller, and this contract must have a target cost which will be considered as a ceiling cost also, and in that you will not increase that target cost. And there will be cost plus incentive fee for each and every deliverable which will be delivered. One incentive fee, 1% of that incentive will be paid to the seller. Cost plus award fee. Award fee is earned for excellence in performance, quality, timeliness, ingenuity, and cost effectiveness, and can be earned in whole or in part. Two separate fee pools can be established in contract: base fee and award fee. So cost plus award fee, it will be similar to the incentive fee, but the targets will be different for this. Target will be performance, target will be quality, some timelines, some deliverables we required in June month. We will link that award fee into that June. If that deliverable will be delivered within the June, seller will be able to get that award fee from the buyer, and buyer must pay to the seller as per terms and condition of the contracts. Then there is cost plus fixed fee contract. Cost plus percentage of contract. The buyer assumes the risks inherent in the contract but benefits if the actual cost is lower than the expected cost. The buyer loses if cannot be completed within the expected cost of performance. Contractor realize the higher rate of return in term of fee divided by total cost as a total cost decreases. So the fee will be fixed, as its name is very self-explanatory, cost plus fixed fee. Fee will be fixed in this, and the cost, whatever they will consume in that, it will be paid according to the contract bills and according to the vendor billing system. whatever they are using in that, according to that it will be paid. Then there is cost plus percentage of that. The buyer assumes the risk inherent to the contract when it's difficult to determine how much the seller needs to spend on goods ahead of time. So they will share some percentage on that cost, and they will agree from the beginning of the contract. They will use what contract type they will use, and percentage of some cost which they have quoted earlier, they will be getting it, and buyer have to pay that according to agreed terms and condition and percentage of the cost plus percentage of cost contract. Selecting the contract type is generally a matter of negotiation and required the exercise of sound business judgment. Negotiating the contract type prices are closely related and should be considered together. The objective is to negotiate the contract type price that will be reasonable contractor risk and provide the contractor with greatest incentive for effective economical performance. Typically, the contract file should include documentation that indicates why a particular contractor was selected. So the contract, we have to understand what are our targets, what are the timelines which we have to achieve. If there is any milestone list prepared according to management directions, if there are any deliverables which is highly preferable and highly prioritized, red prioritized to be delivered according to some timelines, with that manner we have to select our contract type. If there are scope of works which is not clear, then we have to go some cost plus contracts which will be coming under the risky contract. But somehow, as our specification and our scope of works are not freezed and we don't have the clear understanding of the contract, we might go for some time and material contracts also. In that case, it is depending on us. We as a contract manager, you as a commercial manager, you have to decide it in the benefit of your company which kind of contract you are going to choose to offer to the sellers. Then depending on seller also, they have to negotiate. If you are as a seller, you have to negotiate if there are unclear scope of works which is mentioned into the solicitation package. You must assure it that you are choosing the correct type which will not expose your company to the higher risk. So we must have to make the final decision accordingly. There are many factors to consider when negotiating a contract type, including the following: price competition, the ability to perform price analysis, or the need for more detailed cost analysis, the need for a combination of contract types, the type and complexity of the requirement, the urgency of the requirement, the period of performance, the adequacy of the contractor's financial reporting system, the seller's technical capability and financial responsibility, the existence of other concurrent contracts, the extent and nature of subcontract management and acquisitions history. Contracting methods. What are the methods of contracting? We must have to understand. There are bids. We are inviting for bids. There are requests for quotes. There are requests for proposals. So all of this are part of the contracting methodology. Contracting methods: sealed bidding, negotiation, simplified acquisition, and contracting tools. It includes federal supply schedule, modular contracting, sales contract, performance-based contract, qualification and economic electronic commerce, auctions and reverse auctions, framework pricing arrangement, gap fillers, broad agency announcement. So these are the contracting types and tools. Sealed bidding. Sealed bidding, most of us people, we are involved in the bidding. There will be invitation for bid, maybe as per some website announcement or maybe some announcement in newspaper. So according to that, seller will choose to bid, and they will see what are the requirements of bidding, and they will start bidding on this. The documentation of this, it will be sealed. That's why the name, it's self-explanatory, sealed bidding. The sealed will be provided from the seller on that documents of tendering, and it will not be shared and it will not be exposed to anyone. What are the prices shared from one seller to the buyer for that particular project, for that particular job? The IFB invitation for bid is publicized by distributing it to prospective bidders from a bidders list maintained by the buyer. Typically, the IFB is posted in a publicly accessible place. So there could be a list for the sellers which they are going to choose for the tendering, or somehow it will be a publicly accessible place also. It could be a board, it could be a newspaper, any website also, and in all manners this public bidding it will work. The FAR states that contracting officer must use sealed bidding when time permits the solicitation, submission, and evaluation of sealed bidding. The award will be made on basis of price and price related factors. It is not necessary to conduct discussions with the responding offerers about their bids, and there is reasonable expectation of receiving more than one sealed bids. So whenever, if you are a seller, you must have to understand that there are enough requirements to submit this bid. If there is low requirement, you might ask them some kind of a discussion, but in this bidding session, the offerer might not entertain you for some kind of discussions. So as per seller point of view, as per buyer point of view, both we have to understand the sealed bidding procedure. Most of you are doing in your professional life also. It's everyday job. There are two steps of sealed bidding. First step is the technical proposal. We might submit technical proposal to the buyer which is without pricing. That technical proposal they might keep with them for including their technical skills, just to evaluate how much technically it is compliable, and is it achievable from the seller side, that what are the technical requirements seller will achieve according to buyer requirement or not. Then the second step will be the commercial proposal. Commercial proposal, when you are understanding when there is any notification, or maybe without notification there are some involvement of days, that up after 10 days or after 1 week or after 2 weeks you have to submit the commercial proposal. In that you can submit your commercial proposal. It will include the minimum understanding, the minimum requirement of technical details also, as well as price details for the earlier submitted proposal. And there should be some confirmation from buyer side that your technical proposal have been accepted or it is under review. According to different companies, they have different policies. So two-step sealed bidding will be part of developed solicitation according to the domain A. These are the mixed usage matrix and the difference between the IFB invitation for bid, IRFP request for proposal, and RFQ request for quotation. As you can see, multiple factors are involved into this. Is the price the determining factor? Yes. In invitation for bid, it is. In RFP, maybe. In RFQ, maybe. Will the oral presentation be considered? In bidding, no oral presentation. In RFP, yes, maybe. In RFQ. Is there a responsibility test? Yes. In IFP also, in RFP also, in RFQ also. Is there a responsiveness test? Yes, yes, yes. In IFB, in RFP, in RFQ. So all other factors you must go through.
I need to ask, what is the difference between proposal and quotation?
Proposal and quotation. Proposal could be a comprehensive package of proposal. It could include design also. It could include some services also, which will be requested by seller, and it will have which will be requested by the buyer. And quotation will be consisted only some deliverables which is asked by the buyer. For quotation, there might not ask for some official signature, and for a proposal, there might not be a signature, but for quotation there must be some kind of signatures which is requested from the buyer side. So these are the major differences between the quotation and proposals. Proposals will be more detailed and more design oriented as per the commercial life cycle of the contract. That's the thing.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll go into next, negotiation. After evaluation, the buyer may award a contract based on initial proposal submission, award without discussion, provided that RFP stated that award without discussion might occur if the buyer needs more information from seller before making an award discussion. Then the parties enter into negotiation that typically affords offers an opportunity to revise their offer before final evaluation. These are the pre-negotiation part. Then single source negotiation. There could be one single party which will be negotiating. Based on this, we called it single source negotiation. It refers to contracting with single provider in lieu of competitive contracting. Single source negotiation usually occur because the provider is the only source of the product or service requirement. These are the terminologies which will be used for single source seller. There is no any other source for in the market which will be providing that services or that product. And mostly long-term contract relationship will be built with that kind of single source partner, seller or buyer. Unsolicited proposal. Unsolicited proposal are proposal from prospective contractor to provide goods services without prior formal, informal solicitation from a contracting officer. According to FAR, a valid unsolicited proposal must be innovative and unique. It must be independently originated and developed by the offerer. It should be prepared without governmental supervision, endorsement, direction, or direct involvement. Include sufficient details to permit a determination that government support could be worthwhile and proposed work could be benefit the agency's research and development or other mission responsibilities. Not be an advanced proposal for a non-agency requirement that can be acquired by competitive methods and not address a previously published agency requirement. RFQ. Most of the buyers, they are requesting RFQs from the seller. It could be one seller, it could be multiple sellers, it could be one vendor, it could be multiple vendors. RFQ, we are requesting quotation for some products, for some services, and we are asking them to share details of the services, terms and condition for that quotation, and validity of that quotation. All of this will be mentioned as per the RFQ understanding and RFQ terms and condition. We'll go through this slide. RFQs are solicitation document used when a specification or statement of work already exists and the buyer needs to get information from potential seller about price and delivery. It is important to note that the RFQ differs from the RFP in that the resulting quotation is not an offer. Sorry. The resulting quotation is not an offer, and consequently the buyer cannot accept a quote to form a binding contract. When the buyer issues an order in response to the supplier quotation, it does not establish a contract. So mostly RFQ will receive response as LPO, which will be called as a local purchase order. So it will not reach to the contract stage. It will be covered under the local purchase order, which is the lowest understanding of the contract, and it's not the formal contract which will be binding both parties. And that have to be considered that RFQ will be responded not through a contract, and contract to issue a contract, RFQ is not the mandatory thing only. The order is an offer by the buyer to the seller to buy certain goods or services. Upon specified terms and condition, a contract is established when supplier accepts the offer either by signing the order or through the performance. Electronic commerce. There are nowadays which electronic commerce, it is really involved in multiple organizations, and e-commerce is like booming nowadays in multiple organizations in many countries. And all of us, we have somehow certain involvement with these. Some companies, they are really involved into this and they want orders, transactions and quotations through only e-commerce. We'll go through this slide. Electronic commerce refers to a group of automated processes that can be used to accomplish business transactions using internet. In federal sector, the contracting officer must make certain solicitation available through www. some websites, which will be representing the company, the specified company, including specification, other pertinent information determined necessary by the contracting officer. The content of any notice published by website is the sole responsibility of the agency that has issued the notice. So on e-commerce, some companies, they are inviting for some proposals, they are inviting for some quotations. In that, they will issue some kind of notice on their websites, and different sellers, they will check on their website. They might have some email or they might have some form which have to be submitted, and on that website only it will be available. So the contracting officer who is going to issue that notice, he is the only responsible person for that, and they might share the name and email IDs for those persons also. Then there are auctions and reverse auctions. As you can see, auction is the one, if I have car, I am going to sell that car, I will advertise it and I will ask for auction, that who is the highest offerer for my car, and I want to sell in 10,000 real, $10,000, depending on car condition. So this will be auction, and I will may ask publicly to some website, to some physical people, this can be done in both manner. In publicly, it can be done like physical also, it can be done in website also, electronically also. Then there is reverse auction. Reverse auction, there will be a very limited short window, and some people, they will request reverse auction, and they will ask to bid down the price on their products or services. So it will be same, but it will be in reverse way. We'll go through this slide. Auctions are sale transaction in which goods or services are offered and sold to the highest bidder. The price is not negotiated but is set by competitive and open bidding. Reverse auction used competitive environment to drive down the price being offered. How compete in a reverse auction? During a reverse auction, a customer allows suppliers only short window of time to bid down the price on their products or services. The practice was pioneered by automotive and aerospace buyer, which used reverse auctions to procure commodity parts. Today, many large companies use them to buy anything, everything from paperclip to their employee healthcare plans. So in reverse auction, they will just open one small window according to their website, maybe 1 hour, maybe 5 hour, maybe 2 hours. And in that, seller have to submit the quotation with the minimum price. So in that small window of time, whoever will submit the lowest price, he will be winning that reverse auction. Develop solicitation. Develop solicitation. Next part is market research. So market research, anyone who is going to develop solicitation, he must understand the market. He must understand the overall norms of the market. He must understand who are the competitors for them, and they have to have a clear understanding of the current market's condition. What are the components involved in current market, which is the price driven scenario, and what are the degrees of the material which they are going to request, and what are the understanding of the research of that market which they are going to work, and they are involving their self for that work package. So all of these details, uh, anyone who is going to make a solicitation package, he must have that understanding. We'll go through the slide. Market research support the solicitation plan by determining the marketplace capability to perform the contract. In the expanded role as a business professional, the contract manager should consider implementing a comprehensive market research process, not only the degree in which external sources could meet the requirement, but the contract manager should also look within the organization for information that might be valuable to anticipate future requirement. Thus, market research consists of both internal and external components. Figure 6.8 illustrates typical market research cycle. Research. The cycle begins buyer describing requirement and ends with the buyer awarding the contract. Through the process, seller may contact potential customer who will have need for their product services. When seller contact potential customer, it is also called marketing. The federal government has strict rule about potential seller contacting the potential buyers after issuing a solicitation. So this is the market research life cycle. As you can see, the first part of this will be buyer describe the requirement. Once requirement have been published, then buyer conduct the market research of potential supplier. Once research have been conducted, the seller contacts potential customers. This they are calling it as a market also. Many of us, we are working in one organization. Some sellers, they are approaching directly from some references, from some friends' mobile number or some emails randomly we are receiving, that called marketing from the seller point of view. Then buyer may revise the requirement. They might convince them that this is the better requirement for you, this is the better product for you, something like that. There are many possibilities once sellers are engaging with buyers after requirement describing. After that, buyer issues solicitation. So solicitation package will be issued on this phase. Then seller submit quote, bid or proposal. Afterwards, buyer will award the contract. In between, there will be evaluation, there will be negotiations. All of these things will be involved into that. We'll go into next slide. So while developing solicitation, RFI, it is important thing. It is request for information. Any information which is not available within the solicitation package, that can be requested. RFI must be used as part of market research to gather information from vendors in the marketplace. RFI sometime issued to determine the availability of the product, services, and gather market information on capabilities to perform when less formal forms of market research do not produce the desired results. An RFI might request information about company goods and services to determine if the companies are capable of performing in future acquisition. Many buyers use the internet to obtain such information from potential suppliers. So RFI, this is the one terminology somewhere in quality assurance, in quality control. You might see this term also, RFI. That RFI is different, request for inspection. So whenever any deliverable is completed, any deliverable is delivered to project site or as per contractual, the location of that deliverable, request for information, a request for inspection can be raised, that is covered under the quality assurance, quality control. So we must have to understand the RFI word, it coming in terms of contracts or it is coming in terms of quality. The difference will be, there will be a difference in both words. SOW, statement of work. In this statement of work, you will give the clear understanding what are the works you are going to request, what are the services you required. And there are three really important parameters which will be coming into this, which is the design, the performance, and the functions. So this have to be complete SOW. In that you will describe the complete services and the goods which you required from the seller. If any of you have any question, you may ask freely. The typical SOW contents, regardless of which type used, SOWs are normally contain at least some of the elements which is elaborated in 6.9. These are the key elements of SOW. Objective will be there, scope, description of work required, performance standard reporting requirements, staffing requirements, resources to be provided, then reference documents. All of these details will be included in SOW. There is contract type and method. So this we have gone through earlier also. somehow it is interlinking again to finally